China's National Bureau of Statistics has just come out with a raft of data for the previous month, April. And a lot of this data has come in weak and surprisingly weak for China as to what was expected. Now, over the past few years, even just recently, the Wall Street Journal reported that with a lot of data coming out of China, China's just stopped reporting a lot of data over the past few years, since COVID, actually. A lot of data is just no longer reported. They've just stopped reporting it altogether, and there's not really a good explanation as to why. Also, in some cases, when it comes to things like youth unemployment, they stopped reporting it for a number of months, and then they started reporting it again, and it came back calculated in an entirely different way. They removed segments of the population not to be counted in that data anymore. So you can see the kind of games that are played with China's data. In fact, way back in 2007, China's premier, Li Keqiang, actually told the U.S. ambassador that China's GDP numbers were man-made. So man-made GDP numbers, that means they're not real GDP. Anyway, let's get into some of the numbers here that China's just released, and some of them are quite weak or weaker than were expected. So here we go with retail sales. Retail sales came in at 5.1% over the year earlier. And 5.1% may sound good by US standards, but it's not great by Chinese standards. And the expected growth was 5.5%. So expectations has a lot to do with this. That's why this is disappointing. So it came in 0.4% lower than expectations. Not only that, the previous month before year on year was 5.9%. So we've come down from 5.9% in the previous month down to 5.1%. That's a loss of 0.8% over 1 month. So that is kind of disappointing. Then industrial output. Industrial output grew at 6.1% for the year on April. Now that came in slightly stronger than what was expected because there had been a built-in expectation for a big decline in industrial output. The expectation was 5.5%, so it came in slightly high. However, also for the month before, for the previous month, it was 7.7%, so that's down quite a bit. That's down 1.6% from the previous month on a year-over-year basis. So that was also, even though the monthly amount was higher than expected, it's still quite a come down from the previous month. Then fixed asset investment for the first 4 months of the year. That includes property and infrastructure investment. That rose 4% for the first 4 months of the year. Now that came in lower than expectations of 4.2%. So that was also a disappointment. So when it comes to urban unemployment, that was at 5.1%, down from 5.2% in March. So unemployment improved in April with all the factory closings. This is kind of one of the areas where you might be wondering, do we really trust this data? Because there were a lot of factory closures in April specifically because of the tariffs. So anyway, that's what they're reporting. Urban unemployment was down. China's exports supposedly surged by 8.1% in April, although to the United States they dropped by 2.5%. Now we also have to reconcile this with other independently reported data that the US-bound shipments dropped by 21%. So we had a drop of US-bound shipments by 21%, but the exports to the United States only dropped by 2.5%. I mean, it's possible, but it doesn't sound, those two numbers are not really aligned with one another. Then we'll get to a very important number that drives the economy of China and countries around the world is car sales. Car sales only increased by 0.7%. Now this is a year-over-year increase, 0.7%. For China, that's tiny. And for the previous month of March, the sales increase was 5.5%. So quite a difference, quite a big slowdown from 5.5% to 0.7%. 5%. That's a worrying number for a country like China that's had strong automobile sales for years. So things are definitely slowing down over there. They have been slowing down, but that's quite a big slowdown. Then finally, fixed asset investment, which is real estate, fell 10.3% for the year for April. Now, China's real estate's been falling for a number of years now, and 10% year over year, 10.3% year over year. Not really surprised by that, but that is a horrible number for any country. Then more real estate related news. In China's housing market, for 70 cities, the housing prices declined at the fastest rate since November, which is also not encouraging, but expected when it comes to Chinese real estate. Now, when it comes to outside forecasts for GDP, GDP is not reported in April, but Nomura has a projection for GDP for the quarter ending in June, and it's an upgrade to 4.8% from their previous 3.7%. Now, this is based on the fact that the tariffs have been put aside for 90 days. There's been the 90-day reprieve on tariffs. Up to a point, those are still 30% tariffs on China for most things. The other thing is Nomura also had a China factory activity dropping to a 16-month low in April, the lowest since December of 2022, which is kind of odd considering that China reported they had an increase in factory output. So that's just kind of a contradiction there between what Nomura is saying and what the Chinese National Bureau of Statistics is saying. So just a bit of a difference there. China's wholesale prices also declined at the fastest rate for 6 months. Their retail prices declined, and they have weak consumer sentiment when it comes to retail. So China's been caught in a spiral of deflation for some time, and this is showing in the prices throughout the country. If you like this kind of content, please subscribe to the channel and give the video a like. I'd really appreciate that. In some of my upcoming videos that I have planned, I'll be going over U.S. real estate markets and probably more U.S.-based data. If there's anything else you'd like to see, any other countries you'd be interested in me covering, please comment below and let me know. I'm interested in everything going on financially and economically around the world, and I want to see where the big changes are happening. So thanks for watching.